Hello, my name is Jay, and right here is the PC that gives me the title of the whole entire world, the best budget PC builder. And this is by no means underpowered. This is God tier. This is arguably better than a good bit of PCs out there, and this cost me roughly 20 bucks. Now, in today's video, I want to go through and explain the parts, the stories behind this. I also want to start this video by saying this is taken about a year and a half to get all the parts for this PC. I have gotten them through lots of time investment. I have certainly paid in my time. I have done lots of searching, lots of free work for people. Well, free in the sense that I've helped people out with building their computers, and therefore they've given me some of their old parts for free. So there's a good bit of stuff in here that I've gotten that's been broken, that I've ended up fixing. There's been a good bit of stuff that I obviously couldn't sell this because there is a good bit of problems still with it, and there's some fair share of things that I fixed that are not suitable in the long run. But for the most part, this PC right here is a pretty powerful beast. This definitely is a gaming PC, and this PC holds its ground up against any modern PC whatsoever. If you were to build one right off the street right now for a mid-range budget of $1,000 to $1,300, you probably could not compete with this. And this is why I want to make today's video, because this stuff likely is a lot of chance. This is really a video of a very best case scenario over 1.5 years of me looking extremely hard every day, looking, yard sailing, all this stuff to get this. And I don't like usually making these videos because when I do a video, I'd say I do a $50 budget PC, which is actually what I got right here. Nice $50 budget gaming PC. When I do one of those videos, I want to make sure that I showcase something that is achievable and possible for everyone. This right here is definitely an achievable, possible goal for anyone to get. They can easily build this if they spent about the same amount of time I did. This right here is pretty much, I had God tier luck for about a year. And obviously that's a long time, but this is pretty much what happens if you really hit it just right. And this PC is pretty good. Let's go over some specs now, shall we? Because this is a pretty powerful PC. And not drop it. So right here, starting off, let's just go over some of the parts. I have got 16 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM in it. Yeah, it's actually mismatched. There's two 4 gigabyte modules and then one 8 gigabyte module. Not a big deal. I did have some other 4 gigabyte modules. So the RAM itself, I paid for about, I think it was roughly $8. That's actually one of the most expensive parts that I got. Next up, I've got another, the 8 gigabyte stick, which ended up finding in an old server, which is also going to come in later. So some of this stuff is, there's a lot of stuff. There's a couple places that I know to get trash, some of the e-recycling waste, and that's where some of this stuff has come from. Some of this stuff has problems. Some of the stuff I've just had to do some scavenging, some scrounging around and find some of this stuff. And I want to start, as I said, to state again in this video that this is my very best luck. This is my perfect case scenario. Out of buying so many parts, this is the very best that I've gotten, and I don't think it is possible to replicate again. I definitely could not replicate these same parts again, and I definitely don't think that saying and telling people that, hey, this is a $20 budget PC that anyone can build is feasible. This is just me showing off some really good stuff that I've gotten. So for right here, I have a graphics card. This is a GTX 1080. That is right, a 1080 in a $20 system. That is probably the God tier crowning piece. So pretty much some of the story goes is, along with the motherboard, there are some parts that I have gotten that people were just throwing away. Whether it be at yard sales and they have a big bulk of parts that they're just chucking, or they have some parts set aside that they know are broken. Story for this thing goes, or the graphics card, is that there are a couple transistors on the back that have popped off. Guy figured, hey, this popped off, it's broken, set it aside, gave it to me for free. Now, here's where the funny thing goes. This graphics card works fine. It turns on. The transistors on the back likely are due to bandwidth or grounding. I'm figuring since they're transistors and it's not directly grounded to the board, Therefore, it is probably going to do something with bandwidth. And since it's on the back of the RAM modules might be a little bit slow on one or two modules. Do I think it is, have I had any crashes with it? No, it has not crashed one single time. Have I had any issues loading drivers on it? No. Besides the card not even having GTX 1080 on it, the die itself is 1080, it registers as 1080, and I have no problems running it as a 1080, but just oddly, the transistors on the back popped off, so it's kind of broken. Next up is this motherboard. Now the motherboard, I actually got as a combo with the motherboard and the CPU, and it's a different CPU that's in here. But the CPU and motherboard that I originally got is a MSI Z77A G45 motherboard. And this motherboard actually had some quite odd issues with it. It was, the guy that gave it to me gave it to me for free. I was buying a bulk amount of parts. I pretty much go through there and do that. I go to a yard sale, the guy's got a lot of parts, I'll ask, you know, how much for everything. And then usually when you say that, they're like, okay, we'll just kind of throw stuff in there, and you know, say that you like to do show it for display or showcase stuff. So they start giving you some of their broken parts. And I've actually had a lot of good luck with broken parts. This motherboard in particular, I had just, you know, in testing with it, it had a lot of issues at the beginning, and then I figured out why. One of the CMOS jumpers actually was missing. So when I took one of those off of another broken system that I had, put it on here, it was working fine. So now I have a top tier motherboard, at least of that generation, and a overclockable 570K. It's an i5, but I have one of those sitting over here. But for this CPU, digging around in some old servers that have been in the trash, I discovered, I believe it's an Xeon E3 2500 something, 400 something, Gen 2 or V2. But point of the story is, it is a 3.4 gigahertz base, 3.8 gigahertz boost, 4-core, 8-thread processor that works on this motherboard. So I have pretty much 8 processing threads, as well as a GTX 1080, just sitting right here. And oh boy, is this a pretty powerful system right off the bat. And then down here we have an old server SSD. Now this thing is, of course, extremely old. I think it's almost on 10 years old. This is one of the very first ones, but it is PCIe. And it is one of the very first PCIe SSDs that ever existed. So originally this thing would have cost upwards of like $3,000. But now I think I found it in the trash and a bunch of other miscellaneous parts. I've actually got a bunch sitting out here as well. And this one has, of course, its fair share of issues. It's missing the I/O shield, but it also runs extremely hot. This guy cooks. And I mean, you talk about graphics cards being hot. This is back when some of the controllers and stuff were not perfected, and this guy can cook. I would be willing to bet this is one of the hottest components on this whole system. So I've got aftermarket heatsinks on the bottom. I've got some heat pads on the bottom. It is really, really, I've had to modify it just so it stays somewhat cool. I've got a stock Intel cooler on there because that's about the only thing that I had that was really free. The case here and the power supply. The case I got free, actually, so I was doing work for a friend. You saw the video. It was a video that I posted, but I built him a nice system up. We built pretty much, he had a Cyberpower PC. This is actually the case that it came with. And we upgraded the whole case. We upgraded the CPU, motherboard, all that stuff. And he pretty much said, okay, the rest of the stuff you can have. And so that's what I did. I pretty much built this. This is the case that's originally came in there. The power supply, I got in a bunch of bulk, I guess, purchases from this dude who had a bunch of power supplies. Heck, there's some of them still sitting back here. I've got one in the system over here. I've got power supplies for days, but that was a bulk thing that I paid like 20 bucks for like 30 power supplies. And these are all pretty decent power supplies. And then, of course, we have some of the super questionable power supplies too. But for bulk purchases, that's kind of my specialty. So I think this is a 650 watt gold rated power supply that I think was like 10 bucks. So overall, I've only paid for the RAM and the power supply. Now, yes, there are broken parts. I think the cooler I may have paid a couple bucks for, surprisingly, an Intel stock cooler. But for a couple bucks, 20 bucks, I have a GTX 1080, pretty much a 8 processing thread processor, 16 gigabytes of RAM. This PC is probably even me a couple years ago, was like maybe 2 years ago, would have been happy with this PC. This PC is very, very, very good. So I figured, why not show you some of the performance of it playing some games? And no better to start off with a game that I've been trying to run on some budget gaming PCs recently, Minecraft. And I love Minecraft, and Minecraft is an easy challenger for this. This is an easy thing until we start modding it up. And we're going to mod this thing up to the max. We're going to run Minecraft with the most mods, with all the different shader options, with texture packs, all that crap. And we're going to get Minecraft running on here looking nice. And don't worry, we're not just testing Minecraft, but I've been trying to get that recently, running on a couple systems, and oh boy, is it time that we get the sucker started. I want to show this off real quick, just because I want to appreciate the fact that this is running Minecraft on a $20 PC. And this PC is not something that is garbage any bit. Let's do some system info. So just to show off a couple things, the processor is an Intel Xeon E3-1240V2 at 3.4 GHz base and 3.8 boost, I believe. 4 cores, 8 logical processing threads, 16 gigabytes of total installed memory, and then we are also rocking with the NVIDIA control panel. I already did this. We are rocking a GTX 1080, and as you can see, GTX 1080. So let's see how well it runs Minecraft with texture packs, with shaders, with some pretty heavily modded stuff. And we're going to go on my lovely Minecraft server. We are going to showcase what happens when we have all of this installed. So as you can see, we are pretty much easily sitting on here playing some Minecraft, and this is getting okay frame rates. It's okay for right now. So wait for the stuff to load in and just show off a little bit of the shaders and stuff. So we are rocking with 41 frames, and this is in spawn where there's a bunch of stuff going on. So let's just head off and just appreciate the fact of how pretty this looks. Let's set the time, day, and let's just take a moment to appreciate the fact. I think I have auto jump on. Yes, I do. But let's just take a moment to appreciate the fact of how pretty this looks. I'm going to leave the frame rates up there just so you can see. So we're getting 70 FPS right now. We're just increasing the farther away we go from spawn. We're up to 102 now with shaders. And I mean, Minecraft that looks this good, is it really Minecraft? So as you can see, for having, I think I have about 6 gigabytes allotted to Minecraft, about 70% of that is being used. Sorry, looks like 13% that's being used. But for simply playing just Minecraft, could you really argue that this is bad? Like, I mean, this is top tier, what you would consider what Minecraft should have been played like. And this is definitely top tier right here. I have no issue with this whatsoever. So this is this is literally unbelievable. For $20, if you had told me, I don't know, 3 or 4 years down the road, or before this, that I would be playing Minecraft this well, better than any PC that I've, probably except for this one. This is the one that I have down here for my editing system, cost me something like, I don't know, $2,000 for all the money that I've thrown into it. This thing cost me 20 bucks and is just slightly less powerful than that. And for gaming, still, this is just slightly less. Had you told me that I'd be having this, you know, I don't know, a couple years, maybe 2 years after I built that PC down there, I'd be calling you insane, because this is clearly different. This is clearly much more impressive. The performance is completely unrivaled. Heck, I'm getting 140 frames playing Minecraft with the maximum shaders. As you saw there, we're talking extreme shaders, playing Minecraft with this. This PC is mind-blowingly fast for its 8 processing threads, GTX 1080. Unbelievable. So let's play a couple other games just to kind of prove my point across. But geez, this is some powerful stuff. Okay, so here's a benchmark. I'm going to be running the Rainbow Six Siege benchmark. You guys should be able to see in the title. So, what does our benchmark results say? The max frame rates that we got Overall 241, average 156, and minimum was 74. So yeah, the minimum is pretty impressive there. Like that's the start. So like start of the game, it's loading everything up. So pretty impressive right there. So yeah, that is going to wrap it up for this benchmark. So this concludes our wonderful video for today. Yeah, I am quite impressed with this. Pretty powerful machine. And yeah, so just going over a little bit of the performance that we saw really, really high frame rates. The graphics card was pretty much maxed out the whole time, meaning that we didn't get any bottlenecking. I was a little concerned with DDR3 and stuff, that we were going to have some bottlenecking from the CPU, something along those lines, some type of kink somewhere. But no, we actually had a really, really good overall performance. The motherboard PCIe Gen 3.0 really handled the graphics card well, being Gen 3.0. So really, this was a good motherboard with a good CPU with a decent amount of RAM in there. So this thing definitely has no issues whatsoever, and really, really, really impressed with how well it performed overall, especially with the SSD. So I'm going to say this again. This is not something that I think I could do again. This is not obtainable and something I could definitely repeat again and again. Could I spend a lot of time, probably another year and a half, looking for parts and get something maybe of the same caliber? Yes. Do I think that do I have lots of good places that I know where to look and have even more years of experience of knowing where to look and how to get good deals and stuff? Yes. So for this, I had someone email me the other day. They're like, hey, I want to, you said you do computer builds. Could you build me a $50 gaming or server? I think it was a server. And there's the videos that I make are more supposed to be educational, and so for $50, yes, I paid $50 for a server. Actually, some of the parts are sitting back here behind the computer over here. But yeah, I paid $50 for that. But if you want to pay $50 for something that it's just hard to do, because like my time, my experience costs money. Like that's my time that I spent, that I invested, is how I really ended up paying for the other half. So the time that I invested in there, and then the research and all the experience, plus if you wanted to ship that to somebody, it'd probably end up being a total of around $170 just to ship everything. And that's if I only charge $50 for the hours I spent driving and the gas that I spent trying to get to places and back. That's not really feasible. And so yes, I think that if you had the time and you had the ability to get there, you definitely could find the parts. Just buying them off of me is just not really feasible for getting such a low price. The low price is really something you got to set out for. Do I think that anyone out there could build something like this and repeat this, and get a computer like this? I think if you spend enough time investment on this and you knew what you were doing and you had a little bit of experience, then yeah, I think you'd get something similar if you knew where to go and look. But if you were just going to sit out and be like, hey, I want to spend a month looking to find parts, and get a PC like this, that's not possible. For me, this took almost a year and a half. Yeah, a year and a half to get all these parts. And yeah, that's just a year and a half with really good experience, with really good know-how, and year and a half. I don't think it's going to be possible for someone to do it in a month or 2 months or 3 months. I think a year and a half or more would be what it would take to replicate this, again, if I really wanted to sit out and do it. But thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you guys for watching this video, hopping in, yeah, have a good day. Goodbye.